whatever. Okay, so we've got an air fiber 11 hex here. The poor thing is decimated. The problem is that the pads. Let's see. Yeah, the pads. Actually, this port was just ripped right off the board. So to get her open, I've already opened it by the way. There's just these screws along here, and then you take the top off, which has one screw in it. You put that aside, and then you flip her over, roll her in flour. Oh, there we go. And then this comes off. There's a gasket on here, by the way. Be careful when you put it back together that you actually have to put it together like this. Otherwise, the gasket won't seal. Oh, yeah. So now, what we've got here, this is the guts of her. If you take a close look right here, I really have to get zoom figured out here. Zoom her in. There we go. Focus. It's annoying that it won't focus at that sound. Let me just get something here. No, it won't focus. Can't wait to try out my new camera. There we go, that's better. So now, let me get my pokey. If you look here, these pads are absolutely gone. They are completely lifted. See, like there's just a tiny little bit right there left, which we're going to take that off because it's just a fucking mess. Fortunately, though, there's some vias right here that we're going to be able to ignore too. Haha, I tricked you there. So I'm actually going to bypass these completely and go to this transformer. There we go. Okay, let's just get rid of that. Okay, so the whole idea here is we're actually going to re-adhere the port with some crazy glue to this because clearly you can see that this thing was manhandled. When I opened it up, the port was actually sitting here like that. Sorry, it was sitting there like that. That's not good. So I'm thinking that somebody pushed too hard in or slipped and pushed in. So, yeah, she's fucked. But first things first, we are going to zoom out a little bit. Just a little bit. Because I want you to see what I'm doing, but I also want... I'm right-handed, so I'll put this over here. So I want you to see what I'm doing, but at the same time, I need to have space to work and all that. So we're going to clean that port up before we actually anchor it. But first things first, I use my microscope. I only have a black and white printer at the moment, so here we go. Here is the transformer and the pins. So we need to map this, okay? Alright, so we're going to go like this. There we go, so now you can see. So we're going to go left, right. Okay, and we're just going to simply map this. We're going to use my multimeter. We're going to put it on beeper. If you want to be fancy-pantsy, you can use a oscilloscope and run a test through it and do it that way, but you don't have to. Okay, so here we go. Let's there we go. So I'm just going to simply touch this here. There we go. There we go. All right, so this is so we got the transformer off of here. I got it sitting right to there. Little bad boys right there. What's inside? I don't ever wonder what's inside of them. It's just a matching transformer, basically. So, all right. So now that this is all cleared, I can actually properly map these pins. So I'm right-handed, so I want this over here. Let's make sure this is not dried out now. There we go. We're good. Okay. So first things first. Let us find out what this pin is going to. So it's going to the third from the end. So we're going to go. Start from over here. So you know what? Screw it. If I label this wrong, too bad. Okay. So we're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. So pin 1 is going to pin 2 over here. So this is 1. Okay. Now the second pin here. It looks like they might be in flipped order. So pin 3 is pin 2. So 2, 2. Okay. Wouldn't that be just handy? Here's pin 3. Pin 3 is going to pin 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so 5 over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's pin 3. Okay. Here we go. Okay, next. Pin 4. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's pin 5 this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's pin 4. Okay, next. Okay, let's see what pin 5 works out to be. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. Oh, there we go. Right in the middle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's pin 5. Okay. And next one. 6. Oh. 6 is the 4th in. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4th in. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's pin 6. Okay. 7. Oh, the tedium. Notice I'm going across them. I want to verify that's only the one. So that's pin 2 over here. Okay. 7. I'll just make that a little bit richer. There we go. Okay. Last one. Complete flip, so it's over there. So that is 8 right there. Alright, so that's our pin out. Oh, isn't that interesting? You guys see the pattern that has developed here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's like 2, 2, 2, 2, and they're all they've got a separator in them. So that's pretty cool. All right, so that is now done. So we now know exactly where everything needs to go. Okay, so we've got our little map here. This is critical. So I'm going to put this aside now, and now we're just going to do a little bit of prep work. I'd like you to take the eggs and place them here and smash them into the bowl. Okay. No. All right. So this is actually a really nice socket, by the way. If you watched one of my previous videos, this is actually the beefier socket that's usually found in the power beams. So I'm gonna clean up these pads and that because they suck. It's all dirty. Okay, where is my tip tinner? There we go, and we are going to get some wick. Okay, so I'm just actually what I'll probably do is put a little bit of flux on here because flux makes everything so much better. And then we'll give it a little scrub. Okay, here we go. Okay, actually what I might do is, where's my fine tweezers? I may end up just pinching them off first and then cleaning the pins. So we'll get over here. It's like, as you can see, the pads are like still present. Like, this thing got screwed. Okay. Let's try a little bit harder here. I'll try to go in from underneath. Should get it. Yep. There we go. So there's one side. And how's this side doing? Is there anything even left on there? Oh, it looks like it. Yeah, there we go. Okay, we'll clean that off. Made a tip tinner. I should just be able to slide these guys off. Yeah, there we go. These little fingers of copper. There we go. Okay, so that cleaned up nicely. So, as you've probably already guessed, but I can't use any of these pads. They're gone. I can't use the VS because they're underneath and they're too small anyway, so we're going to be bridging right over to this guy right here. That is our game plan, okay, folks? So, I guess the next step here is prepping this, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to clean these off completely. So I'm going to take a little bit of wick here, and I'm going to clean off my tip again, a little bit of tip tinner, tip tinnery. think of Mary Poppins when I say tip tenor for some reason. Alright, there we go. Take that. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, one of the legs is actually broken right off of this socket. So this thing is just manhandled. Just FYI, okay? Just bloody manhandled. Okay, so let's get some ISO. Here we go. And we will clean her off now really well. I want to make sure that she is spotless because we are now going to adhere this to the circuit board. When I'm done, I'm probably going to put some hot snot on it and really lock her down just to make sure that she doesn't move because she doesn't have the ground plane on this circuit board to protect her anymore and keep her secure. I'm going to flip her over. Oh, this is going to be fun. You can see right there that the pins are kind of buried. It's going to be really fun. Because the grounding on here, but because this is actually a gigabit to radio, it needs the grounding on there. Alright, so we've done that. This still feels a little tacky, so I'm just going to get some ISO on here. And I think I'm going to grab my microfiber cloth here. Just wipe off the pad a little bit. Here we go. I want to make sure that this is right clean so I can glue this thing down well. There we go. This is just so destroyed. It's unbelievable. See, I could probably... I actually have a couple of sockets here. I might actually be able to use one of these. No, it is very different. I can't. This is actually specific to this device. These are your standard Ubiquiti ports. That is the one that's on here, so it is very different. Okay, so now that that's done, let's see if she fits. She does. There's a little bit of copper clad right here. There we go. So I'm just going to tear off any of the remaining copper clad that is damaged here. Maybe I won't have to. That's actually on there pretty good. Alright, so now let's glue this down. Where is the crazy glue? Oh, there's a little bit of crazy glue in the bottom here. As I dig it out, I am definitely going to need this. Okay, so here we go. So I want to glue this down first, and then I'm going to have to go at her with some really fine wire, so that's going to suck. So I'm going to put as much crazy glue on here as I can without possibly interfering with my operations. I use crazy glue because I can't get into it and I need it to adhere fast. Otherwise, I would typically use an epoxy. There we go. So that is lined up right there. So I'm going to put a bit of pressure on it for about 30 seconds or so while it sets. Bloody shame that I can't solder it back to the board, but, you know, hot shot or some epoxy will make it nice and strong. I'll probably epoxy it. I need to make sure that whoever manhandled this before cannot manhandle it to death again. Now, here's something which I noticed here as well. This is kind of interesting. So, this I believe is the data port here. I believe that is only a 100 megabit per second transformer right there. So the Airfiber 11FX only has a single gigabit port. But I also believe that these things are only capable of 1 gigabit per second, unlike the 5X HD radio, which I believe is slated to be capable of doing up to 4 gigabits per second soon. That's what they're talking about when they unlock the 12, what is it? It's at 1024 QAM, I think, right now, and it's going up to higher than that, so it's going to be pretty friggin' nuts. A little bit longer. Just a little bit longer. Actually, what I might do here, just hit it just with a tiny, teeny, tiny bit of heat. There we go. Just to help it cure. There we go. That's nice and warm now. Now you probably noticed that I took this board off of the heatsink. I forgot that the heat sinks on these things are really kick-ass. And the issue that I ran into was no matter how hard I tried to desolder that, I couldn't get it to move because the monster heatsink here was drawing all the heat away from the board and I couldn't get the pads hot enough. This will make it easier anyway, hopefully. So I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pre-solder. I need to get some more light here. I think I am actually going to pre-solder. Here we go. I just need to get there. I need to pre-solder these leads. Because once I get this transformer in here, it is going to be a pain in the ass to get it back on. So, get them back on. There we go. So, yeah, we're just like that. So, you see, like, working inside there is going to be a real pain in the arse. So we're going to solder our leads on here first. So now what I have in preparation for this is some very fine grade copper. This is a very light cable. This should work actually fairly well. I do have some finer stuff which I might actually use. It's just that I know that there's going to be a tiny bit of current going across here, so I want to make sure that it can handle it. So I do have plenty of copper wire here. Of course, I recycle, so what I might do actually, I've got some thinner stuff I might actually use, just thinking out loud. Yeah, I'm going to use the thinner stuff, just to be on the safe side. I don't think it's going to fry if I do that. There we go, I got some fine stuff right here. Okay, so this is nice and fine cable. Okay, so I guess we're going to have to get in here now. So I'm just going to flux in here. I need to get a little bit of more light from behind here, so I'm just going to move this light and tilt it just a tiny bit so I can get in there. There we go. So let's get a bit of flux on these pins. Here we go. There we go. Let's get it with a little bit of heat. There we go. Okay, so I guess I could probably zoom this in a little bit. Okay, so let's try this now. Okay, so now that I've done that, you can actually see what I'm doing. Alright, so we're going to need 8 wires. So I'm going to take these 4 that I've got, and I'm going to cut them in half. Here we go. Tap, tap, tap. There we go. So I only need them about that long. Of course, it just makes them easier to work with. There we go. Okay, so there's our leads. This is the fun part. Micro soldering. This isn't quite micro soldering, but it is very fine soldering. It's a pain in the ass. So this stuff here, you need to be very, very careful when you strip it. So there's one. It's just a pain in the butt. So I'm using my linesman scissors because I can actually get right around it and I can twist these. You can't just rip it off like an electrician's, you know, chewing on a piece of cable. You gotta like twist it, score it, and then you can like take it off. So here we go. Now I should be using bare copper. It'd be a very good idea, but it wouldn't be a good idea because if you really think about it, these are all over the place. The pins are crossing, and if they're crossing, then the issue that we can run into is that, let's see here, we got, if they're crossing and I use some bare copper for trace patching, they'll touch each other. And if you're doing that sort of thing, you really need to get a good enamel on the bare leads as you're working. So there's 1, 2, 3, yeah, okay, so I need a couple more. Okay, so we got our 2 orange, 2 pink, we need another yellow and another white, which are right here. And once I get all these guys stripped, I think I'm going to strip the other sides. I might strip the other sides now, I'm not sure. But this is a bit of a nightmarish job. I don't wish this on anyone. I've got a close buddy here in Peterborough that actually does this sort of stuff on a daily basis, and Jesus, he's good. Alright, so this tip is not going to cut it now. I need to switch to my teeny tip. Also, the thermal mass on these guys isn't nearly as good as on the Hakko, but you know what? I'm happy with the soldering station. One of my favorite YouTubers uses one of these too, Big Clive. He's got a similar soldering station to what I've got here. This is a pretty common tip type too, so I've got a small kit, and I just order off Wish, and it works amazing for this. I mean, like, it actually has the same soldering iron but portable. Pink. This is just random wire, by the way. I did not have any rhyme or reason for this. This is just so that I've got some decent cabling for the job, but There's no specific color code here at all, FYI. Okay, so there we go. So I'm just going to trim off a teeny tiny little piece of this with my nippers. Boop. And now I've got some flux on here already. So actually I should probably tilt this board and make it a lot easier for everybody to see, but yeah, whatever. Okay, so I'm going to just get a little bit of solder. And I've got this really fine gauge stuff. I can't remember what gauge it is. I think it's like 26 gauge. And I'm just going to go along these down here and just prep them. So here we go. Here we go. So we need to get in here and clean this. There we go. So we're going to continue trying to get all the flux off of here. There we go. Yeah, I think it's almost gone. I'm just going to... I don't want to go side to side, really. That worries me because I don't want to weaken the joints here. There we go. I want to make sure that these are very, very clean. I have to make sure that they're all isolated from each other and there's no bridging. And then I can go ahead with my gluing. And then once I glue them, there we go, that's drying up nicely. Yeah, I can see now they're pretty spot on. Once I glue them, they should be great for not shorting, no, not bridging. There we go. So I'm just gonna, I've got my heat gun down around 100 degrees, and I'm just going to, there we go, just lightly, I don't want to wreck the solder, I just want to evaporate the ISO on here. There, that's nice and clear. Let's just see here, yep. They all look like they're isolated from each other. Yes, that looks amazing. In the hindsight, what I actually could have done, I could have actually peeled the pins forward like this and then soldered them and then glued it to the board, but that's not fun. Okay, so that part's done. So now I need to arrange these in the way that they need to go. So I'm just going to go like this, bend them out of the way temporarily. Okay, so now I'm going to prep these pads. So I'm going to get a little bit of high quality flux here. I'm going to go across here with the flux. Here we go. Hit it with just a little tiny bit of heat. There we go. And now I can actually solder on here. I'm going to use a slightly larger gauge solder over here. Just so going over the pads. So there we go. Yay. Here we go. What I think I'm going to do, because I'm just kind of playing this by ear, is I'll probably... There we go. That's beautiful. What I'm probably going to end up doing is adhering the far side here of the transformer before I do this side, because that'll allow me to hinge on something. Yeah, I'm not going to solder that until after. Because what I can do is I can actually stick this down like so. And then with the side soldered, I can just push down on it with a little bit of force and we should be good. So now comes the really fun part. It's mapping this to the pins. Okay, so we need to break out the drawing that we made earlier right here. There we go. Alright, so I've got that right there. I don't need my helping hand at the moment, so I'm going to put that aside. I need to get rid of as much shit as possible off my bench here. Okay, so I think I'm going to cut these down a little bit. That might be enough. Hope I didn't just bugger myself. Okay, so we know that the first one, so let's see here. So pin 1 here is, let's see here, yep. So pin 1 here is going over to pin 2 over here. Okay, so first things first, let's just get a little bit of this off. Oops. Look at that. The glue didn't even hold. Isn't that great? I really need to find better adhesives for the work that I do. Either that or the flux and heat might have just pulled it off the board. Whatever, fuck it. If that's the case, then what I'll do is I'll just put the transformer on first. Just makes sense, and then I can go back in and fasten the wires. So I'll just put the transformer back on. Screw it. What I should be doing here is I should actually be using a blade tip for this, but we're doing so much fine soldering. Like, it would be nice to actually have a second soldering iron on my bench. That'd be very nice. Maybe one day when I'm rich and famous I can do that. Who am I kidding? I will never be rich and famous. There's no money in this. Everybody just throws shit in the garbage now. Here we go. So that's that side. And now I can go over to this side. Put a little bit of flux on here. All my beautiful plans laid to waste. Whoops. What am I doing? There we go. Okay, I'll just go in here like so. I was so excited. I thought that was going to work really nicely and look really good. Actually, I need the different solder. Where's my fine solder? There it is. Fine solder. Okay, so we'll just go in here like so. There we go. There's a million ways to do this too. A really common trick is to put a preheater under the board and solder the pads, and then use a heat gun to sink the SMD to the board. But whatever. I'm working with a piece of heavy-duty radio equipment, so I'd prefer to be very delicate on this guy if I could. Just baby it, you know what I mean? So there we go. Now I'm just going to clean these pads off on this side only, just to make sure that I can see things well. So here we go. And then the last piece of business that we need to do here is we need to make sure that it works. There we go. Oh, great, I got contamination in my brush. Let's get that off of here. There we go. Okay, so we'll just do this again. Just make sure that she's nice and clean. I'm very picky about my soldering work. There we go. Let's hit it with a little bit more ISO. A little bit of gunk stuck on there, so I need my trimmed off one. Give it a scrub. There we go. Okay, that should be good. Doopy doopy doo. There we go. Okay, so that side's good. So now let us attack this nightmarish hell. Alright, so we know that this one's pin 1. Pin 1 is going over to pin 2 over here, so let's start by that is not being friendly. This is actually going to cost a little bit more to repair than I originally thought, just because it's taking a lot of extra work to get this thing done. I'm probably going to use epoxy now because the crazy glue clearly did not work. Okay, so there we go. Okay, so that's pin 1. You know what? I'm just going to strip all these bad boys because if I don't, it's going to be a nightmare. Especially once I actually get down in there. The nice thing is I can actually see down into that now, so that's good. And the manhandling right here to strip these guys will definitely proof if they are securely fastened to the pins. Okay, where's my white? Okay, where's my yellow? Okay, we got a pink. You bugger. There we go, and we've got an orange. There we go. Yee. That was a little bit. I had to pull on the pin, not my finger. There we go. I feel I need to take a little bit more off of that, though. There we go. Alright, so now we can get in here. Alright, so I want to straighten all these guys out. And we are going to tin all of these guys now, so I'm just going to put this board aside for a minute. And yeah, I'll use my fine electronics flux. Probably the smartest thing to do here.
Yeah, same here. I'm trying to figure stuff out.
Oh shit, you can't see me, sorry. There we go. I might actually start live streaming. It might actually make things a lot easier on the editing side, because I hate editing. Editing sucks. If any one of you out there are near me that wish to do editing for me, I am not a famous YouTuber. I don't have any money. There we go. Okay, last one. Alright, awesome. There we go. I'm just going to trim these just a tiny bit with the nippers. Here we go. Alright, we are prepped now. So now I'm going to go to down here. I think I'm going to go this way. Okay, so what do we say? So pin 1. So this is actually yellow here. So pin 1 goes all the way over here to pin 2. I wonder if I should just take that thing off, but whatever. Let's try this, okay. There we go, there's pin 1. Okay, so 2 goes to right next to it. Nice. Okay, so we need a pink. Okay, so trying to get my little rainbow of patch leads working here. Alright, so pink is the next one. Actually, I should probably just move this over like that. That'd make it a lot easier. There we go. Okay, so 2 goes here. Oops, sorry.
No, I'm playing on keyboard and mouse right now. Yeah, I'm on PC. I don't know if you're playing on Xbox.
Okay. 3 goes over to almost straight across. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in. So 3 is orange, and that goes 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's going on that hairy one.
I'm just trying to figure out the controls, trying to put this shit away.
Trying to get on there. What I should do is get some tip tinner. There we go. So 1, 2, 3, 4, hairy one. Grr, sorry. It's a pain in the ass. Oh, I can't get that. I'm gonna have to put some more solder on there, I think. Some solder on the hairy one.
I was at that point. I ain't going back to that point.
How are we doing for time? Yeah, I got 10 minutes left on here. I gotta try to make this happen. There we go. Okay, so let's try that. A little bit of... There we go. Go in like this. There we go. So that's that one. Hey, we're almost at 100 meg. What do you know? Okay, so our next, I believe, is a white. Okay, so number 4 goes to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it goes to 5 in on here. So that will be... Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right there. So it goes there. Here we go.
Hey, man, you guys
Oops.
on PC or Xbox? Ah, same Xbox.
There we go. Oh,
Brand new to this.
whoa, halfway. Okay, so 5. 5 goes right next to that one. 5 is a
Hey, man, how's it going?
yellow. Okay. Let's see here.
I'm brand new. I'm just figuring it out myself.
It's
See what
5.
one is.
Okay, so yeah, I think we're in order. 6 goes over to Christ. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. 6 is on pin 4. So it's actually next to 3. Okay, so 6 is pink. There we go. So I'm going to bend that on a funny angle. There we go. So you're going right there. Here we go. Ugh. Almost stabbed myself in the eyeball. Here we go. There we go. Alright, 7 goes to second pin in. So that's this orange one here. Okay. Here we go. There we go. Okay, so 7 goes right here. This is a hella tight little board to try to get it together. Okay, and then for the last one. There we go. Really clean my tip for this now. Oh man, this is a huge job. I didn't expect it to be this big.
Nah, I can't hear him.
Okay. There we go. Yeah, they're all pretty secure on there. So let's just make sure that we have them in the right order. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 1, 2. What is this gunk right here? I'm going to get rid of that right now. There we go. Okay, so now I can give this guy a little bit of a scrub with some ISO carefully. I can put my soldering station back up top. There we go, and
I'm assuming as a fresh player, I don't have shit. I don't even know how to open up my map or anything right now. I've looked at the keys and I haven't been able to open anything.
okay, there we go. Okay, that's cool. Now, what I'm going to do before I actually put this back down is I'm going to take a little bit of pre-catalyzed urethane. And I'm going to dump. I need another one of these. I go through a lot of these, so I'm just going to dump that up there for a second.
How do I pull that up?
This stuff's handy as hell, by the way.
Oh, fucking shit.
And I'm going to take a little bit of pre-catalyzed urethane, and I am going to dress these leads across here so that they are all protected
Well, I just,
and they don't bridge out accidentally. I'm going to do the same over here, by the way. So Here we go, a little bit of pre-catalyzed urethane over here. Actually, what I should do before I do that, sorry, stupid me, I need to dry this. So I'm going to have to get in there because I just hit it with some ISO.
Is this like an event, I'm assuming?
Okay, so there's a clean. Let's just get in there with the heat gun.
Oh, okay, that's what that was? Okay. I thought that was like...
Turn up the speed of the air just a little bit. There we go. Yeah, we're good. Okay, so now I can put some pre-catalyzed urethane on here. Alright, so I'm going to take this guy here. And this stuff dries really, really fast, so because it is in a spray can. Note to self. Always wipe the tip, too, when you're done with it. Just the tip. There we go. I'm just goobering it on there, if you can see that. Just to make sure that... and, by the way, this could wick up into the port, which could be a real pain in the ass, because then you got to clean the port. There we go, so I'm just going to make sure. Cool. Alright, so that's good. So it looks like we're good. So now the last step here is going to be adhering that to the board. And I think for that I'm going to use lay epoxy. I'm just going to, there we go, put a little bit of this in here. We're going to mix up some epoxy now.
Is there a point of picking it up or doing anything with this?
Okay. I'll dump this somewhere. Yeah. There we go. Alright, that's good. Okay, so now I need another rag. I need my other rag. Here we go. Clean this out, mix up some epoxy. We'll anchor this thing, and we should be good. I can start putting it back together. I'm going to have to dump this clump of video, by the way, guys, because this is a really big video. So hold on a second. I'm just going to epoxy.
Oh, you actually have to water it? Okay. Huh, alright.
Yeah, fresh out of epoxy. No worries. And here's a little thing about hot glue sticks, by the way. If you hit them with a lot of heat, they cure really, really hard. So here I'm going to show you a little trick about hot schnot. They don't teach you this in school, folks. So I'm just going to carefully lean that forward like so. Make sure that this is nice and clean. Now, hot schnot, if you get it really, really hot, it does something funny. It goes hard like epoxy almost. I love it for that. You can do this with a lighter too, but it looks cooler if you do it with a heat gun. So now here's the trick. Once you get it on there, you want to get it stupid hot. Just short of burning. It's going to go really, really watery on you. See, it's starting to smoke. Now, I'm going to carefully... Shit, I got to do this quick. Going to carefully move these wires like so. And I should be able to re-anchor this. There we go. Just like that. And that should be nice and tightly adhered. Before that cures. And I'm going to put a whole bunch of that on there too, around the socket. You'd be surprised at how strong this crap can be. It's just you got to know some tricks about using it though. There we go. Okay, cool. Alright, so everything's on there. I am now going to adhere the socket. I can see that all the pins are really good, so I don't necessarily need to test them. Okay, so I'm going to goop the hell out of this with some hot glue and then switch over to my other memory stick and we shall continue. So please bear with me a moment while I jump cut. Okay, we're on to the home stretch now on this bad boy. All right, so I have hot snotted the crap out of this. So like I said, you can use a heat gun to actually really kind of cure hot glue to be a lot stronger than using a stupid hot glue gun. So typically when I do this, I get it up to about 350 degrees, and you look in here and it's like, that's really hard now. It's as hard as an epoxy, but it was a lot quicker. So I really, when you get the hot snot really runny, it'll just flow straight down into the wires here. So I basically coated everything in here with the hot snot, got it right down. So that's solid mass from the board straight up to the top here, and straight down the sides. Everything is just beautiful. All right, so now we can actually put it back together. And actually, one thing to do is recharge my ISO. There we go. So I can put all this stuff back now. I can go back over here. Okay, there we go. Okay, so we've got everything now. Just a quick tidy up, you know how it goes. And there we go. We just put it back together, and then we can actually test her. That's going to be the cool part. I have not actually used an AF11 as of yet. I feel kind of ashamed to say that. Okay, so there we go. We're done with the soldering stuff for now. Knock on wood. Okay, so let's put this aside. We're just going to start putting her back together, but I'm going to make sure, yeah, there's nothing on the bottom here. It's all clean. But yeah, to take a closer look, again, what I did in here was I melted the hot snot down here so that it went right down through all the wires. And basically, it's right down to the board to the top. I put some down the sides. I didn't go all the way to the front here, but I made sure that it was right in there between the two. So this is also going to push back against this transformer here, which will give it some more strength. I pre-coated all these parts with pre-catalyzed urethane. So yeah, let's start reassembling this little monster. All right, so this is this goes on here like this. This is gonna be fun because actually I've got it's like a Kapton surface, but it's not Kapton tape. Actually, you know what? I have to lean this forward first. This is going to be the tricky part because this is not adhered. There we go. So, let's see if we can keep these guys lined up properly. There we go. And oh, it looks like I managed to do it. Okay, so those guys are in there. So I guess the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put these little LED light guide back on here. It goes right there. And I'm going to have to wipe off these thermal coupling pads here because they're probably covered in finger glue, dirt, and everything else on my work surface. Okay. There we go. Now the reason why I'm doing these ones first is twofold. Number one, I want to make sure that this light guide ends up going on here well, and number two, it'll help secure the board in place. Alright, so the rest of the holes should line up perfectly. Didn't crank it down yet. Okay, so now I'm just going to take a little tiny bit of ISO here. I'm going to wipe down with the microfiber cloth so there's not goop or hair or anything. I'm just going to wipe down these thermal conductive surfaces. Now, let's take the nightmare monster and put it back on. So there's this thing here. This is the shielding for this band pass and all this RF gear in here. We have to put this on here carefully. Let's see here. Oh, looks like there's a hair in there. I'm just going to take a microfiber here and just make sure there's no hair stuck to the bottom here. It's the problem with having pets. You get hairy. So, there we go. Alright, so I'll just give her a little jiggle. That should make everything line up. It's just a best practices thing. I like to do two of the corners first to get her in there. And I don't crank it all down until I get to the last screw. So once they're all in place there, here we go. Yeah, there, that's looking nice. There we go. Sounds like people are bothering me on Facebook. Always happens when you're in the middle of a project. Now, the one thing that really sucks about this little radio right now, I don't believe I have an antenna to put on here, which is a problem because you do not fire up a radio, especially one worth this much, without a load on the outputs. If you do that, there is a strong chance that it will never work again unless you send it to somebody like me and I replace all the output transistors in it for you. You don't want that. It's a pain in the ass to do it, number one. Number two, you should never have to. It's just best practice to always make sure that you're loaded before you connect something to it. Now, unfortunately, there's no combiner on the top of this thing. It came without the combiner, which is a bit of an issue for me because the combiner would mean I could just hook two antennas up to it and it'd be perfectly fine. So that was a little bit of short sight on the shipper's behalf. Alright, so now I'm going to just torque all these down. I don't have a little torque screwdriver, but it doesn't really matter because you just want these good and tight. Not tight enough to strip, but just good and tight. Here we go. Okay, and then maybe I can wrangle up enough antennas to load this thing without blowing it up. Now, the other thing as well is I believe that there's no polarity on the input. It just takes 50 volts. So I'll have to check that. If that's the case, it should be relatively easy to power. And then we can check the Ethernet port and make sure it's registered at a gigabit. And hopefully reset it back to factory default. And hopefully log into it. Alright, there we go. Everything should be tight. Okay, these guys here, they're all still sticky. It doesn't look like that one might be a little bit contaminated. I'm just going to wipe a bit of it off. Okay, there we go. So this guy is pretty much ready. Oh, I spoke too soon. Duh. Alright, so I'm just going to... There we go. There are a few little screws in there that need to go onto this board too. There's one there. And there is one here. And that should be it. It looks like there's a little serial port on here too. That's kind of handy. I do not ever recommend taking a radio of this caliber and modifying it. It's well engineered, well thought through. There's no reason to ever tamper with the software or the hardware on it. Okay, there she is rigged. She's back together. These have all the thermal transfer on them, so before I fire this thing back up, I have to put it back together. I mean, we're not loading it down too much, but I don't want to cook anything. So everything looks good in here. We're just going to remember what I said, by the way. You have to have this on upside down, so we're just going to put this guy back together like so. There we go. She's good. Okay, so now I've got another pot here with these screws. So we'll just let's see here, put all these guys in here.
So I'll be right there. I'm just gonna smoke one. I'll be 2 seconds.
Okay.
Jesus, my shit's echoing that bad, eh? I can hear you here from the other side. I'll try and fix that shit. Sorry about that.
There we go. I want my big Phillips. So we gotta torque this down so there's a bit of pressure. Bit of compression between the two surfaces. Here, yo hoser.
No, I know what I'm doing. I'm just smoking a bowl. I was trying to also figure out if I can turn my mic down because that shit's way too loud for you guys. I legit feel bad. I'm sorry.
There we go. Okay, so she is back together. The last portion of this is we need to actually take the the O-rings here, slide them on. These don't, it's not like another radio where once these O-rings are on, it's difficult to get it open. It's just, it should be good. Now, I do typically live by the rule of test things before you reassemble them, but I was pretty careful about those pins, so it's one of those situations where it's so fine that you can't screw it up. You have to double, triple, quadruple check something before you're done because it's so fine that if you don't do it while you're doing it, you can actually come up with problems. So there, that's those. The washers go over top of the O-rings. There we go. There we go. There's one. I need to get the screwdriver for these guys. I just haven't done it yet. I haven't really had a need. There we go.
That probably didn't fix anything, but it might help.
There's the one. There we go. Okay, so now let's hook up the second one.
You guys saw
2,
that one? You have me over there?
3.
Alright, so just make sure.
Okay, there we go. So now we're just gonna jump cut for a second because I've got to do a little bit of reading on how to power this guy. I just want to make sure that when I hook it up, I don't cook it, and I need to make sure I've got a load on here before we go. So we are back. Okay, we're on the home stretch here. So I have gotten the little bugger. It is working, as I was hoping. So yeah, here's just a little test for you guys, just to show you that everything's good. I'll just turn the lights down a little bit. So I've got my Hex-S here, which I'm using for testing. Because this runs on 50 volts, my bench power supply only does 30 volts, so I had to use this boost converter. Well, it's a variable, the input-output. I got 50 volts running here. Now, just to show you everything's good, I managed to log in here. Let's see if I can, rather than do a screen capture. So there you go. You can see the 1 gigabit per second right there. Yeah, I got both ports connected, by the way, which could potentially create a loop. And just a verification on this, I'm going to go into the MikroTik, and there we go. I've rebooted it a couple of times, by the way. So there we go. The gigabit here. Can you see that? I hope. The gigabit's plugged into port 4. So let's go into port 4 for a second. You know, you see a little bit of traffic. There you go. 1 gigabit per second. Let me just, I could do a screen capture, but I just wanted to, I'm actually kind of in disbelief as well. This thing was pretty buggered up. There we go. 1 gigabit per second. She's good. She's good to go. She's tested. And, yeah, I guess I can send her out now. So, thanks for watching, folks. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you've got any tips or pointers, leave them. Yeah, let me know what you thought, and have a great day. Bye.